Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session. Ask me about writing your first book. And we are for a good start because we already have 14 questions that came offline and online, and we'll try to address them all, inshallah, in this session. My name is Mohammed Isa. I'm an award-winning speaker and Amazon best-selling author. I have 4 Amazon best-selling books, and I help people in getting published. I'm on a mission to help 1,000 authors get published. So far, I have helped around 90 people get published, and hopefully by the end of this session tonight, I hope that I'll be able to inspire you to write and start writing your first book. Remember, tomorrow is April 1st. It's the first day of the second quarter of 2021. It's a good day to start. Don't wait for 2022. Start tomorrow. So let me give you a little background about when did I start writing. I started writing at a young age since basically I came to know how to write, how to use my hand in writing. And I credit that to our teacher who taught us in grade 1, 2, and 3. Her name was Tarfa Abdurrahman, and she always encouraged us to write. So she planted that seed in me to become a writer. I didn't know that I'll be a writer one day, but the seed was planted when I was 6, 7, 8 at that time. So later on, I stopped writing. I did not write so much except for the school assignments. And when I joined Unilever in its offices in Dubai and Jeddah, there was a regional newsletter. I made it a point that I would write something all the time in that newsletter. And the reason was that the reason for writing or contributing to that newsletter was very simple: to get visible among employees and the senior management of the company. And this is one of the reasons you should write a book. It makes you visible. It takes you from this level to this level in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of your fellow professionals, in the eyes of your company management. And this is where I started writing again and again. Now, fast forward, I enjoyed writing my MBA assignments when I was studying at University of Hull. The assignments were basically essays, and I didn't have any problem about writing an essay because the company I worked with, we had so many managerial issues. So in any assignment, I would just write about our company, and that was it. So the assignments were done like this. When I reached the stage where we were supposed to think about a dissertation topic, I challenged someone from Kuwait to write about the topic of investor relations. And he retorted this way: "Are you crazy? There are no resources on this subject. No one wrote about it. Why don't you write about it yourself?" And I accepted the challenge, and I created a dissertation for my MBA. And this is the dissertation. It's basically a review about investor relations practices in Bahrain. So when I finished this dissertation, I didn't want to keep it on the shelf. I wanted to move the dissertation. So there was a conference in Dubai about investor relations. So I traveled to Dubai. I met the chairman of the Middle East IR Society, and I introduced myself. I gave him the copy of the dissertation, and he said this: "You should meet Michael." I said, "Who's Michael?" He said, "Michael is someone from Poland, but works in London." Can we mute ourselves, please, because there's some noise coming. All right, excellent. So when I met Michael, remember, he was from Poland but worked in London. When I met Michael, he said, "You should meet TJ." I asked him, "Who's TJ?" He said, "TJ is a British living in Bahrain." So I thought, what a nice cycle. So I came back to Bahrain and I met with TJ, and we discussed the results of my dissertation for 4 hours. And before leaving my office, TJ said this: "You should publish this as a book." And just like many people around this world, I knew nothing about publishing. I told him, TJ, I have no idea how to publish a book. He said, I know someone who knows how to publish a book. He introduced me to Jalal. Jalal is a Bahraini gentleman. He had a media company, but he lived in Belarus. So Jalal was on vacation coming back to Bahrain, and we met and we decided to publish the book. And this is in 2010. And the first book I published in my life was this, a review of IR practices in Bahrain. So it was the dissertation that I did for my MBA. I converted it into a book. So I removed all the academic style of writing and made it more of a business book. And this book made waves at that time because no one wrote about this subject. And I'll share with you one final story on this book before we move to the questions. All right. So because of this book, I was invited to speak at many conferences on investor relations. And in one of the conferences, I spoke about the topic. And when I left the stage, someone approached me so quickly. And he gave me his business card. And he said, can you write an article about this? I said, yeah, sure. I know this subject so well, so I can write you an article. So I wrote him an article. I invested 3 hours in that article. I sent it to him by email. And then he replied, I'll share it with our editor to see what he can do about it. And I'll share it back with you. So when he shared it back, he said, what do you think? I said, this is brilliant. Your editor made it so good. Then he said, can we send you our photographers? We want to take photographs of you in your office. And since our chairman does not come to Bahrain very often at that time, I used his office to get these photo shots done. And I still have them until today. I can show it to you if you want. Then the story doesn't end over here. He sent me another email saying, we are writing you a check. So what should we write on the check? Can you give us your full name? And I thought, yeah, sure. This is my full name. And they paid me a certain amount. It's not a big amount, but you can see what a book can do for your career. You can get visibility, you get known, and you get paid. And this is one of the reasons you need to write a book. Now, what I'm going to do is I will open the session for your questions. Remember, I have 14 questions that I would like to answer briefly if the time allows. And now what I'll do is I'll help you. You can now unmute yourself, maybe raise your hand or write in the chat so that I can address your questions. All right? So maybe I should address the first question in the chat. My question, why should I write a book? Why should you write a book? This is one of the things you need to realize, that people write for different reasons. Some people write for generating PR opportunity, like this book. I bought this book back in Dubai, 2002 from Duty Free. And in chapter 43 says you need to write a book. Why you need to write a book? So that you promote yourself, you become more visible, you have an edge over your peers. Because if you think about it, how many people published around you, in your family, in your friends, in your company? Not many. So once you publish a book, you become more visible in the community. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, you can use it as a business card. Let's say I'm having a meeting with someone and I want to sound more credible. So I can give them a copy of the book. It becomes like a business card. And how many of us give away books during our introduction? Not many, again. So it gives you an edge. Thirdly, this is one way of sharing your experience with the society. So this is like giving back to the community. Now, let's see if you have questions. You can unmute. Give me a sign. Yes, Dr. Abdul Ghani? You can unmute, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Ustad Muhammad.
Thank you so much. Salam.
I think we have elaborately previously on a phone conversation that you don't encourage to write a book, but now you are encouraging us, since you have written your book of the MBA and you have converted to a book, and you got let's say well known after that. Have you changed your views, or there's some confusion I have got from you previously?
I think I will never discourage people from publishing. So if you have a book in your mind, just go and write it, publish it. Yes, there was a confusion. I will not say to people not to write books. I'm here to encourage people to write books.
A study, it was about my PhD, but it's okay. Now you give me another motive.
Yes, yes. All right. Do we have any questions from participants who are here online? Priya, come on. Priya, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, now I can. Hello, and thank you so much for this session. I actually sent you an email with a list of questions.
Yes, yes. Laundry
But
list.
they are yeah. Yes. So it was actually a laundry list, and so I just if we can start with, how do you decide which pivotal moment of your life to write a book about? And if you pick a thought that clicks and you want to write upon it, how do you recommend that you expand it to form it into a book form? Let's start with that.
Okay, excellent. I like to give real life examples. So I have a book that's called On Assignment, and in that book, I'm already late when it comes to writing that book. So what's happening is I was a consultant for one of the companies, and I spent around 6 months of my life in that company. And through that experience, I made so many observations about the practices, whether the mostly wrong practices. So what I'm planning to do is I want to write about these experiences in a book. And now we come to the questions, how do you start? How do you start? So I love to start by creating a cover for the book. So this is the inspiration. This is the inspiration. Make the cover. Put your name under the cover, put the title, and you can do this for free using online tools like canva.com. So this is the first thing I would do. I would create a cover so that I can imagine the book. Now, then I would come and create the skeleton of this book. For this particular book, I already have 43 chapters in the content. And basically what I do is I create a table that has chapter number, chapter title, and then the bullets or the triggers for that chapter. So when I start writing, I remember the bullets, the triggers, and my ideas will flow better. So in this book, I have now 43 chapters that I need to write about. And I'm very late. I was supposed to finish this by March 31st, which is today. And I am willingly confessing that I did not write a single chapter. But hopefully I'll be starting from tomorrow. Yeah. So then you don't just write a book and go and publish it. You need to have people review it. You need to have editors. You need to have testimonials, see whether there is a value in publishing that book. And this should be from the start, whether there will be a value, whether there'll be a need for publishing such a book. This is the first thing. I wrote a note for myself for this session, which is an African proverb that says, a fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say. And there is a big difference between these two extremes. So I'm not here advocating that you write books for the sake of publishing books. I'm here to say, if you have something worthwhile that will benefit the community, that will leave a mark, why not? Go ahead and publish it. All right, so that was one question from Piria. let's see if we have more questions from people who are online. Mishkat, do you want to ask one of your questions? Oh, so many hands up. Okay, let's start with Samih Al-Alawi, because he sent me an email way long back since I announced this session. Okay, Mr. Samih, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening. Nice to meet you, Muhammad. And I send you the question. Basically, you are a big Toastmaster, and you know that through Toastmasters, we take 10 projects and then we spend 2 to 3 years till we are able to stand up and do a reasonable speak in front of our colleagues, friends, and playing tennis also. It will take you another 1 to 2 years to have the skill to be reasonably at least able to return the ball. Now, you are, and many others also, telling us that you can write a book from the first time and you can publish it. Well, it can happen. I don't think anything is impossible, but shouldn't there be, like tennis, like public speaking, some training so that the book will become up to the standard of publishing and it is reasonably good?
Excellent. The question is clear. Yes, writing is a skill that you can develop, and I don't know if I can pull out a writing prompt book that I have over here. I found one. Writing is, as you said, like tennis, like swimming. You need to expand this skill. So this is 300 writing prompts. And basically what you do with this is you open up this book and there'll be something that you need to write about. All right. What is one of your greatest blessings? This is one of the writing prompts that I've read now. So coming back to the process, there are many ways that you can write a book. One, you can write it yourself. You can hire a ghostwriter to write it on your behalf. Of course, it will be a costly process and you'll have to budget for the time. And there might be some miscommunication, misunderstandings between you and the ghostwriter. However, regardless of your level of writing, I think you should start writing, because there is not a perfect book. You need to consult with editors. I like the tool Grammarly, where you can screen the book, the text. It's much more advanced than the Word software. So there are online tools that you can use nowadays to help you sharpen your skills. So start writing, get the ideas out, and improving the text can be done at a later stage. There is no perfect version of a book. You will have continuous drafts all the time. So I'll tell you something. One of my books, Chai Karaka Customer Service Story, I revised that book so much. When it was printed, I noticed in one of the appendices at the back of the book, the bulleting was wrong. So instead of starting at A, B, C, I started at D, something else. So even with the reviews, you can have mistakes in books. There is not a single book that is perfect. You'll always find misspellings, issues with the alignment, issues with the titles, perhaps the page numbers on the table of contents does not match the actual page numbers of the book. So there are many things that could go wrong. But as I said, start writing. It takes time. Yes, it takes time. And if you have someone else who's in the process of writing a book, you can agree with them. They review your work and you review their works. So there is always, as you said, nothing is impossible. You can always write. Okay, let me go to Mishkat, because She raised her hand and I did not see her. What was Mishkat? Mishkat, you can unmute. Mishkat, do you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Yes, Mishkat, we can hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I raised basically three questions. However, I joined late, so maybe you already answered part of those questions. So the first question is, what are the steps in writing a new book?
Excellent. Thank you, Mishkat.
Thank you.
That's a very big question, by the way. It is only few words, but that's a very big question when you think about it. The first thing is to think, why should you write a book? And we already answered that question. You can contribute to the community. You can be more visible in the community along with your peers and professionals. And you can use it as a business card in new meetings with the client. So there are many ways you can use a book. And let me tell you something very important that I need to state for everyone attending. You cannot make money using the book. If you're thinking that I should publish a book and then I'll be very rich from the sales of the book, that's not reality unless you're a big shot author like Stephen King, okay, or John Grisham. So especially in our region and in the Gulf, we don't have that. We don't have that culture of reading. But as I said, you can use it as a business card to grow your business. Now, what are the steps? The steps is getting the idea. And going back to the chai karak example, or let me leave chai karak, and maybe you can see this book behind me. It's on startups. The idea started over a cup of coffee, myself and someone called Abdul Rauf. We were talking about startups ecosystem in Bahrain, and I told him, why don't we create a book on startups? And that's how the idea started. Now, it's a collaborative book. It will follow a different process, but it will have similar steps along the way. So we recruited authors. We agreed on the topics. The authors submitted their chapters. The chapters were edited, and then the entire text of all of these chapters were combined, were given to a designer to create the layout of the book. And then we needed to get approval from the Ministry of Information in Bahrain to publish or print the book. And we got it printed, and then we distributed to the local stores in Bahrain. So these are the steps generally. But if you want, each step can be something totally different. For example, what would you write on the book cover, at the back and in the front? The title should be catchy. There should be a subtitle. The material on the back cover should make, now the title and the design of the front cover made people look at the book. Now, when they hold this in their hand, you want them to flip it over, read a little bit, and buy the book. So this is an art in itself, and this is called copywriting. And people are paid thousands of dollars when they are good copywriters. So these are the steps in general. Let me move to someone else who raised their hand. Let me see. Ala. Okay. Ala, you can unmute.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear
you
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's the similar question as what as Mishkat
Mishkat,
said,
yes.
but can I just add? It's who are the key players to publish the book? For example, now if I'm going to start to write a book, then it will be followed by an editor needs to be involved, or
Okay.
How's the process? Who
All
are
right.
the key players?
Excellent.
Okay, but I have additional question related to that. Okay, being here in Bahrain, writing an English book, is it a challenge? I mean, in getting editors around and publishers around for English books,
Okay. All
or
right.
what do you think?
Okay.
Sorry if it's two questions, but
No. That's all right. That's all right.
thank you.
Thank you, Ala. Thank you so much for the question. We had one question about the key players when it comes to publishing a book. Perhaps I touched on this indirectly earlier in this session. We said you will have the author himself or herself. Then you have the designer who will design the book cover. You have the editor. And sometimes even you can hire someone to write the back cover material for you. Then you have the press who will print the book, and they should not be just a press. They should be advising you on which paper to use, what kind of finishing to have. Is it a soft cover or a hard cover? All of these things you need to consider. Of course, everything has a cost. If you print a hardcover book, it will be more costly than a soft cover book. So these are the players. Now, this is briefly, as I said, I'm trying to answer the maximum number of questions. Now, in Bahrain or elsewhere, English versus local language, I think English is more universal. You can easily get designers, editors, everything you want in English. And this is one of the reasons that I don't write in Arabic, because I know because of English, the publishing industry is more advanced and you have freelancers all around you. So I use websites like 99designs.com to design my book covers, where I launch a contest, and freelancers, they compete and on winning the design contest. So there are so many ways you can help. You can get help from others who are more specialized than you when it comes to publishing. I hope that addressed your questions to a good degree, Ala. All right. Let me go now to the questions in the chat and see if we can. All right. We have a question from my longtime friend, Mohammed Al-Tajir. He's saying that he recently attended a seminar where the speaker said books are 10% content and 90% marketing. So essentially, if you want to make it big as a publisher, you need to put more effort on your marketing than the effort on the content. And this is true. We cannot deny it. We cannot deny it. There are so many books out there. When you look at their content, they are not so good, but the marketing, the support they got made them reach worldwide, basically. So yes, when you have a marketing team with you, you can definitely move more sales for your book. And when I say move more sales, and when I say marketing team, it requires a heavy investment up front. So you can launch a campaign. I know an American author now. He already launched his book on Amazon, and I'm sure it became an Amazon best-selling book because he worked on that for many, many months with his team. So yes, it could be. But depending on your personality, what do you want to achieve with your book? Do you want to make impact in the community, or do you want to make money? And if you want to make money, you need to go international. Locally here in the Gulf, I don't think you can make so much money out of books. If you want to grow more sales, you can make or organize events around your books, make them available as supplementary to your courses. And as I said earlier, you use the book as an introduction to potential clients. All right, let's have one more question from the live participants. Please raise your hand if you have a question so that I can see. So many questions, so many questions. Yes, Dr. Abdul Ghani, you can unmute yourself.
Again, Muhammad, what are the factors affecting positively and negatively affecting the publishing, writing and publishing the books? And is there any publishers preferred and why they are preferable?
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I'll state this from the beginning that I self-publish. I don't use publishers. Yes, the books that I published in the US with other authors were through publishers. But in Bahrain, I rely on myself as a self-publisher. And I understand the process. So that's why I have been publishing so many books over the recent years. But if you're thinking of going internationally, it depends on the sector. It depends on the sector you're targeting. For example, most of New York publishing houses are so prominent globally, so they could be one of the publishers that you can use. You can just Google them, and you'll find their top publishers in the US. All right. But again, when you go to publishers, they get a cut from the sales proceeds of the book. You should keep that in mind. So anything you do in publishing, there is a cost and benefit, and you need to evaluate. All right, let's see if we have more questions from people attending, and then I'll go to the chat again. Do we have questions? If you have a question, please raise your hand and I'll gladly answer the question. Okay. No questions. So let's go back to the Paria. You can unmute.
Yes. So, how important would you say journaling is while, trying to write that book? I know you mentioned that, you jot it down in your tables and, you have that down, but how important would you say, like, writing down those thoughts are before you actually jump into writing a book?
Excellent. Thank you, Paria, for the question. This is essential. When you look at a book, it could be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100,000 words. A book starts with one word. Let's face it. Just like any journey you take in life, you need to start somewhere. So, for example, there is a book that I plan to publish. It's called Walking on Thin Ice. Walking on Thin Ice. And the whole idea about this book is I'll document my travel experiences that I'll never forget, the experiences that I want to share with the world on what happened during my travel experiences. So what is my cheat sheet? I don't do journaling for this book. I have an Instagram account called Nomad973. So I will post pictures, brief captions about the experiences. And when the day comes that I want to write a book about these experiences, I have a cheat sheet ready, and I already published 7 or so articles in a travel website about my experiences. So yes, journaling will always help you keeping your ideas intact so that you don't forget the ideas. That's why journaling is like what I did tonight before we meet. We met online. I have all these props that I'm going to use on my table so that I don't forget my plans when I speak to you. All right. Thank you, Paria. Let's see if we have another hand. Otherwise, I'll go to the chat to see if we have more questions. Okay, how to pick up a topic to write about. How to pick up a topic to write about. What do you like to speak about? Let's say we're sitting in a friendly manner over coffee. What do you talk about all the time? This could be your topic. So if you want to inspire people to start businesses, this could be your topic. So this brief answer, how to select a title for the book. This is a very tricky part, and this is going back to Mr. Samih when he said about having a thought for a book, but not having a proper thread and not having been trained to write. I think making titles is very tricky. It requires training, it requires experiences, it requires a lot of testing, Now, maybe I should go back and speak about Chai Karak at this moment, because Chai Karak is the main title is Chai Karak, but the subtitle is a customer service story. So the book, the book idea is to talk about customer service, and it was based on a real life story. I finished the book. Now I was stuck with picking up the title. So I had a friend who knew about the subject of the book very well. He and his wife read the book before it was printed, and we were exchanging ideas about what to call it. So one night around 11:30 in the evening, I sent him a text message saying, "This is it, Chai Karak, a customer service story." He said, "Are you crazy?" I said, no, I'm not crazy. When we meet tomorrow, I'll tell you about why I will call it Chai Karak. So I was very lucky to call it Chai Karak, because even the publisher in the US, he refused to call it Chai Karak. But then he said, "Okay, let's call it Chai Karak, a customer service story." And the title is so catchy, and it's so easy to translate to different languages. For example, in English, it is Chai Karak, a customer service story. In Arabic, it could be Chai Karak, قصة في خدمة الزبائن. And in French, it could be Thé au lait. I don't know. Ali, I have someone I want you to meet. Come. Just you, come. This is Ali, my youngest son, and I think I'll write a book about him one day. Yalla, go. So topics are everywhere. So now go into the, oh my God, I lost my chain of thought because of him. So when I met with my friend, I told him why we should call it Chai Karak, and this is the story I wanted to share with you. One time I was in a large management conference, and as a speaker, I got the privilege to showcase my books on a table. And there was the son of the Crown Prince of Bahrain visiting the different tables. He did not look at any book except Chai Karak, because he loved the title. He said, "What is this?" I said, "It's Chai Karak, a customer service story." So the title plays an important role in whether people will look at your book or not. So it takes time, and invest in that, because this is the first thing people see. All right. Do we have questions from people attending? Yes, Osama, you can unmute.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Muhammad. In fact, I'm really impressed with your books, and especially it's talking about the customer service. I believe personally that the most important thing in writing the book, when you want to print the book, is the head of the book. And I'm still confused with the Chai Karak title, because I feel that you're addressing only the GCC. Outside the GCC, they might not understand what does it mean, Karak or Chai. Okay, it's a Karak in particular. Is this part of the trick to allow them to read it or to buy it, or what did you mean by this naming this name? It's really nice, but for the Bahraini people, it's really well known, but for the others, so I
excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Osama. I love this question. Thank you so much. So Yes, in Bahrain it's known, and the Gulf is known, and if you go beyond Bahrain and the Gulf, if you go to India, they call it karak tea. They know what is chai karak. So it is well known. If you think about population and potential, if you put Bahrain and the GCC, then you put India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, I have enough population to market the book. But the other side of the equation is that even people on the West, they may not know the word karak, and that becomes a trigger for them to ask you a question or to pick up the book. So yes, it can be tricky. You can use so many ways to choose a title for the book. Thank you, Osama, for the question. All right, Ubaidullah. Yes, go ahead, Ubaidullah.
My question was like, whenever people pick some book to read, they actually start with the content. What's the content? That's the important thing they do. They cover up. So how can we cope up that? Like if we have a title also, but if the descriptions is not perfect, then I think there will be a question around.
Excellent. Thank you, Ubaidullah. The question is so good. Yes, if you look at the publishing literature, they will tell you that people will judge your book from the first 2 chapters. And that's why you need to spend so much time writing these chapters, even the introduction of the book. If you can get a foreword by someone famous to endorse your book, that also will give credibility for the book. So there are so many tricks that you can use to make people buy your book. Let's say I publish a book. Let's say this is the book, and this is the title, and here you will see forward by Robin Sharma. The moment people see Robin Sharma over here, they will buy the book because they trust Robin Sharma. So there are so many ways you can have people to buy your books. Yeah. Let's go to Nidhi Jain. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Hello. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I was told about this session by my very dear friend, Thomas Sakaria.
Excellent.
Yes, I think he's not attending, but I am. I just wanted to know when we think of writing a book, how would you decide the number of pages or chapter? I know it is related to content, but is there some like demarcation for? So I'm planning to write a book with a friend. We're working on the idea right now. It's more like a biography. So just want to know, we'll of course support it with pictures of yesteryears and all, but the kind of pages that would go, and this is going to be our first book.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'm just writing notes, and I'll be with you. Okay. This session is turning to be a promotion for the Chai Karak book, and I apologize for that. But this book is so dear to me, and this is the book that made me the most money. And this book made me speak at Googleplex in California. So if I tell you how many words in that book, you'll be surprised. In that book, I have only around 10,000 words. That's it. 22 short chapters. In total, around 10,000 words. But that book is making me the most money. And that book is so dear to my heart because it talks about a real life story. So I'm in the process of printing the 3rd edition, and every time you publish a book, you want to upgrade it. So this time we have illustrations, we have icons, we have special designs for the readers to use the book. And this book is unique in a way that is so much pragmatic. It's a practical book. You read it, you have fun, but after each chapter, there are 3 questions that you need to answer. So we're providing the readers with a space for them to write the answers. At the end of the book, there is an appendix called More Karak. And in that appendix, I encourage companies on how to create a culture on the customer experience. So customer-centric culture, they call it. So this is how I make my book more practical. So going back to the ultimate question for writing a book, who is the audience and what are they going to benefit out of the book? Is it a business book that they will read, implement, improve their business results? Or is it a novel that they will read and enjoy? It will take them through an emotional roller coaster. Or what do you want to document? So it really depends on what do you want to do with the book. That's the first question you need to answer. That's the first question you and your friend need to sit down and answer. Sometimes you write a book only for a limited group of people. I know a few families that they have published books just for the family members so that the new generation knows about the origins of the family and what they have done in their lives. And I know someone from New Zealand, when I met him in 2013, he was writing a book to his 3 children. That's it, 3 children. That's the audience of the book. And when we met in 2013, he already wrote 80,000 words. So it really depends on the audience. Thank you for your question. Let's see if we have more questions. I can see Samih Al-Alawi. Yes, Samih.
Yes, Mohammed, I think you partially answered that, but writing a book, maybe it's possible if just writing your daily affairs or some thing. But I think the purpose, in my opinion, it should be advancing somebody's life and giving benefit to others. Because if it's a business book, maybe you have to do some research and do something, have an incremental amount of knowledge or to people lives. And but sometimes some people just write a book for the sake of writing a book, you know, writing your daily things, what you have done, and some memories. And but do you think this is also a good objective, just writing for the sake of writing a book and publishing it with some stories about life, which does not much improve the lives of others?
Thank you, Samih. The question is so loud and clear. I don't agree to that. We need to write something that will leave people better than we found them. That's why I said the African proverb, a fool has to say something, a wise person has something to say. So whenever I write something, I hope that people will be benefiting from that book. For example, in April, I'll be printing 3 books called in the Accelerate series, because I have a new brand called AXELERATE Academy. And I thought, what are 3 areas that people need to know to grow? So I wrote 3 books. They are in the final design stage. One of them is called 101 Insights to Accelerate Your Sales, 101 Insights to Accelerate Your Career, 101 Insights to Accelerate Your Startups. And these books are designed to impact the business, the careers of people positively. So yes, we need to write something that will contribute to the community. We should not just be writing for the sake of writing. Thank you for the question. That's very fundamental. Let's see if we have more hands up. No, if you have a question, it's your chance. We still have around 10 minutes before I go to my son, Ali. Okay, how do you use the book to transition into coaching and seminar? And this is what I did with the 3rd edition of Chai Karak. As I told you, I can use the book now as a seminar platform. I have different quotes, different illustrations. In fact, only 2 weeks ago, I used the new illustrations to be part of a customer experience workshop for one of the companies in Bahrain. So yes, you can use the books. As I said, you may not make too much sales out of the book, but you can use them to transition to seminars and coaching to make more money out of them. If you have questions, just raise your hand. I'm just looking at the questions. We have a question from Mishkat, question number 2. What are the challenges you might face as a new writer with lack of experience in writing? I'll tell you something, whether you're a novice writer or an experienced writer, they always talk about the writer's block, that you want to write something, but you cannot. You have the idea, you come and switch on your laptop, you want to write, nothing comes out. So just write. Whatever comes to your mind, just write. Sometimes I will pull over on a street just to write a note so that I don't forget the note. Sometimes I send an email to myself just to get the words flowing to the page. So just write. Osama is saying, can we use your book as a reference in one of my? Yeah, you can use my book, Chai Karak, A Customer Sales Story, as a reference for service seminars. Why not? That would be a pleasure, an honor. All right, let's see if you have questions. Just raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Let me see if you have questions. Daria, you had many questions in your email. Maybe this is your chance to speak again. Where are you? Daria left. Ali is harassing me. Yes, Baba. No. I just said no. Did you hear that? Dr. Abdul Ghani had a question. What are the pros and cons when writing a book? Can you elaborate on that question? Because maybe I did not understand it fully. Can you just tell us what do you mean by that? And then I'll go back to Osama. Dr. Abdul Ghani? All right, Osama, you can go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad, about the Chai Karak book, it's really interesting book and it represents your customer experiences.
ألا ترى إلا أنك لا شيء أمام الله. هذا المعنى السجود.
Okay, let me just let me see what's happening. We have a background noise. Okay. Osama, sorry about the interruption. You may proceed again.
Yes, thank you, Muhammad. In fact, Chai Karak represent your experiences and you wrote it down from your own experiences because you traveled a lot and you had a lot of incidents that allowed you to carry on with this book. My question is that how going to link your experience to me? I mean, your experience expectation is still different than me, or I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about in general. And if not really, I'm having the same customer experience, I feel that the book is not relevant to me. So how did you manage to link with a lot of different culture, different experiences, different customer expectations? You were not talking in general, you were talking about your experience. So is this mean that all of us will have the same?
Excellent, excellent. I love this question, Osama, and you're taking me now to some public speaking answers. Let me just take a note. Okay, in public speaking, we say if you want the audience to connect with you, you use the 3 F's. And the F's are the first, the failures and the frustrations. And these are emotions that are common in the public, especially frustrations when it comes to service. So people are normally frustrated because the level of service is not that good, and they can relate to the experience I had. So let's not forget that we're all human beings and we share the same emotions. So when you stir these emotions through the text of the book, people can connect with you, even though if it's not their story, it's your story. So using emotions and using the conversational tone will make you attract the readers. If you use passive voice, for example, no one will read the book. So it should be conversational, relive the experience you had so that we relive it with you in the book. So I think this is key. Be conversational, use the active voice rather than the passive voice. Okay, the three F's are: first, the first time you experience something; failures in business and life; and frustrations. What are you frustrated about? These are the three F's: first, failures, frustrations. Excellent. Let's see if we have one last question before I close. As you have seen, Ali is coming to me, to my office, and he wants me to get out. I want to stay with you, but Ali is here. Okay. Dr. Abdelghani, you wanted to say something? No? Okay. All right. Since we have no questions, I will wrap up this session. Thank you for being here with me today. This session will be posted on my channel on YouTube, and you can rewatch it and get more learning outcomes from the link. It is xlrt.tv, xlrt.tv. So it's accelerate without the vowels and .tv. This will take you to the YouTube channel when I upload the recording. Now, one last thing. I never expected myself to be an author. Yes, I contributed to so many newsletters in the past. I've written articles here and there, but never thought of publishing a book. But I say this: start today. Think about which topic you like most, which topic you talk about the most, and which topic can make the most impact on your community, whether it's business, otherwise, and start writing. Because in 2010, I have a friend he was a classmate in the University of Bahrain. When I published the first book, this book, A Review of IR Practices in Bahrain, he sent me a message, or no, he called me. He said, Muhammad, if you write one book every year, within 10 years, you will have 10 books. With the grace of God, I have more than 12 books published, either as a co-author or as an author or as an editor-in-chief. And this year I'm publishing at least another 4. So you never know where this publishing journey takes you. So start a book, start with one word. And I think it's time to end this session by saying to you with my son, goodbye. Say goodbye, Ali. Yalla, go. I'll come. Thank you so much. And as I said, this session will be uploaded on YouTube, and I'll see you soon. The next session will be on career success. And stay tuned. I will announce it on the social media, and I hope you took value out of this session. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and see you soon. Thank you.